Welcome everyone to our service of worship. A very special day today, our Music Sunday featuring our choir and orchestra. We're pleased that you have joined us. And we want to take a special note of those who may be our first-time visitors. Do we have any first-time visitors here today? We do. Welcome. Could I ask you to stand so we can see who you are? And welcome. Welcome. Now, I trust if you're with us for the first time that you'll fill out one of the visitors cards that are in the pew, or there's also some at the welcoming desk out in the lobby. And we're very pleased to send our congregation newsletter on to you and welcome you to all of the wonderful events here at UUCSR. And after our service today, we'll be having our Unitarian Universalist Cafe, a nice luncheon after our beautiful concert today, to which we invite everyone. Now, after the service as well this morning, we're going to have a meeting of the coming of age parents in room 19 for a brief parent meeting. That will be right after the service today, if you would go to room 19. Also, at 1 o'clock in our social hall, we're going to have a report from Lesbos. We had 3 or 4 members of our congregation, Colin and Latifa and Alexander Woodhouse, and then Dr. Diane Lombardi, who spent a good deal of time recently on the Isle of Lesbos assisting those who were leaving, from Syria and other places in the Mideast for Europe. And they have quite a story to tell, and they'll be doing that at 1 o'clock. And then also at 1 o'clock, our Minister of Pastoral Care, Jennifer Brower, will be leading the 3rd session in our orientation series towards membership in the congregation. And that's been a movable feast every week at a different point. But I see that will be in the ballroom, which is over in the adjoining building over here. And if you need to know where that is, ask me or someone else that looks like a old-timer here, and they'll tell you how to get there over to the ballroom for that orientation. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be at either of those because I'm going to be representing the congregation here at the memorial service for Reverend Orlando Brugnola, who died recently. It's going to be at Community Church in New York, but she served our Brooklyn and Community Church congregations. She was a chaplain for Unitarian Universalist students at Columbia University, and many other congregations she's associated with on Long Island and in our Metro District. So I'll be there for that service this afternoon. And now, as is our custom every Sunday, we offer you the opportunity to greet those seated near to you this morning and warm welcome. Try to find someone you don't know. This morning we light our chalice, a symbol of Unitarian Universalism, in honor of the light of truth, the warmth of the love which moves among us, in honor of the energy of our common action upon our highest ideals, and especially on this Sunday for the inspiration of music. Let us now join together in singing our opening hymn, hymn number 36. When in our music, please stand in body or spirit. Standing for our unison words of affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need. This do we affirm and covenant with each other.
Good morning. This is a time of significant transitions for this community. As many of you know, Paul Johnson, our senior minister of 14 years, will be leaving this summer. And I thought, since this is our final Music Sunday with Paul, that we should just recognize the fact that he has been an ardent and steadfast supporter of music from his first days here, Our music program would not be what it is today without Paul Johnson. And I'd also say he served as my supervisor for a good portion of that time, and I found him to be a person of unimpeachable integrity and deep commitment, and it's really been an honor to work with him. Many of you don't know that our pianist and keyboard artist, Evan Solomon, is also leaving us this summer. Evan has enriched our lives tremendously in his time here. As a matter of fact, he first came here as a sub for Akira Aguchi in the year 2000, if you can believe that. So it's been wonderful working with him. On July 31st, Evan is going to play the world premiere of Gerard Busby's Concerto for Piano Orchestra here in this space with the orchestra at Shelter Rock. That's Sunday, July 31st. It's a very exciting piece, and I believe that's going to be his final New York performance. Is that right? So we'll tell you more about that. And also, one of the transitions we are facing is Ned Wight, who runs our philanthropic organization that's affiliated with this institution. He will be leaving this summer. We've been lucky to have these people with us. Transitions are always hard. I have to say, I think Ned was making music since the first day he walked in the door, or maybe even before he got here with us. And just a word to the search committee, we've done very well with this institution. There are going to be process to fill these people, and if you're on those committees, I just want to remind you that Paul Johnson's a tenor, and a very good tenor. And Ned is a tenor. And we were lucky when Natalie was called here, Natalie Fenimore, who's another one of our ministers. Her husband's a tenor, Chuck. So I'd like to say we have a good track record, and that might be the most important thing in the search process. So why Daniel Pinkham? When I was thinking about Music Sunday, I first approached Paul and said, since this was going to be his last Music Sunday with us, asked him if there was something special that he might want, and he thought about it for a while, and he very graciously said that he would let me choose what I thought would be effective for this Sunday. And then I went to Ned, and Ned had lots of suggestions. And I'm going to let Ned tell you why, or his relationship with Pinkham, and kind of why we chose Pinkham. But let me tell you a little bit about Daniel Pinkham, since he's not really a household name. He was born in Lynn, Massachusetts in 1923. He studied organ and harmony at Phillips Academy in Andover, and then went on to study at Harvard with Walter Piston and Aaron Copland. He also studied harpsichord with the great Wanda Landowska, and organ with E. Power Biggs. Now, if you're not a musical person, those are all big names, really big names. And at Tanglewood, he studied composition with Onager and with Samuel Barber, and subsequently went to Paris and studied with Nadia Boulanger. I mean, it's an unbelievable background. He taught at Simmons College, Boston University, Dartington Hall in England, and was a visiting lecturer at Harvard University. He was a recipient of a Fulbright Scholarship and a Ford Foundation Scholarship, or Fellowship. He served on the faculty of New England Conservatory of Music, where he was a senior professor in the musicology department. Bruce Torf took a couple of his classes, as I understand, while he was there. But important to us is that he was music director of the historic King's Chapel in Boston from 1958 to the year 2000, which is a long time. So we like to claim him because he was such an accomplished and distinguished musician. But the real reason we're doing this piece, his works today, as I said, is the fact that Ned had a relationship with him and knew him. I want to tell you about the piece we're going to perform now, and these are in Pinkham's words. The edition that we're using, King's Chapel commissioned for his retirement. It's a kind of a new edition of the work, and Pinkham, who died, I think, in 2006, wrote about this piece, just briefly. He said, "My debt here is to the Venetian composer Giovanni Gabrieli. His numerous works for chorus and instruments, Symphonia Sacra, have served as models. This present work also reflects my enthusiasm for medieval plain song, as can be heard in the opening of the second movement, and for Renaissance dance meters, as can be heard in the finale. I'm going to play a little Pinkham for you.
that was just for openers. Stephen, I want to thank you for your kind and generous words. And what a joy it's been to work with Stephen over these many years and to see the development of our music program and how justifiably proud we can be of our wonderful music program and how inspirational it is to be here Sunday after Sunday and to see over the years the choir expand to where now they have to add extra chairs on a regular Sunday morning to accommodate everyone, well over 42, 43, 44 people in there. And I could go on and on about all the wonderful aspects of our total music program, but we're so fortunate to have Stephen, and I want to thank him so much. In 1998, Edward Miller, who had been music director here for a number of years, passed away just the year before Stephen joined us. And in honor of his service to our congregation, the Memorial Scholarship Fund was established in 2005 and has been funded primarily by a cabaret, which is put on by choir members and other members of our congregation each fall. Some years we've been able to fund 2 scholarships for a high school student from Nassau County going on to higher education. Many years just 1, but this year we want to aim for 2 by dedicating our offering to that scholarship fund this morning. So please give generously so we can extend our reach into the community in this very important way. So we wait upon you for your generous offering this morning.
Well, as Stephen said, I had the joy and good fortune to know Daniel Pinkham for some 20 years. He was, in fact, the Stephen Michael Smith of King's Chapel in downtown Boston. This is a church that is a Unitarian Universalist Christian congregation founded in 1686, worshiping in a building that dates from 1754. You walk into that building and you know that it's steeped in tradition. How many of you have been to King's Chapel in Boston? It's the church you go into and say, this couldn't possibly be a Unitarian Universalist congregation. However, and it gives off an aura of antiquity and mustiness, but in fact the music program there was anything but stodgy or musty. Everything from early music to electronic music and everything in between. Daniel Pinkham was a person who loved jokes. Paul Dresner would find him a keen companion. And he told them to the choir every Sunday morning in the crypt before they went up to the organ loft to sing. He was a person who had great spiritual depth, as is evident from the music you have heard and the music that you will hear, and also had a keen sense of mirth and joy, as is evident from both of the works that we'll hear. Let me just say one word about the wedding cantata. I don't know if you were going to say something, but it is dedicated to Arthur and Locha Loeb, who was a couple at King's Chapel. He was a professor at Harvard, but also an early musician. He and his wife did an early music consort. So when they were getting married, Dan Pinkham said, I need to prepare something for them that will pick up on their joy and their commitment to early music. So some of that comes through in the Renaissance music. You'll see that and hear that in the piece that we will sing at the end. My ordination at King's Chapel in Boston took place about 25 years ago in 1991 in June, and I was surprised and deeply honored when Dan Pinkham said that he would dedicate a piece to me that would be performed at my ordination. It is called At Dressing in the Morning, which we're about to sing. Now, it is a piece by Christopher Smart. Christopher Smart was an 18th century poet who was also something of a religious fanatic in the Anglican Church, so much so that his father-in-law had him committed to a mental asylum for years for religious mania. I did wonder if Dan's dedication of this piece had some hidden message for me, but never mind. The poem is from Smart's last published work, which is entitled Hymns for the Amusement of Children. It's a perfect text for a newly minted minister, a state which Paul and I can both testify is very much like being a young child. It's a poem, and actually a prayer really, to teach children and ministers how to get ready for the day, at least in the Anglican tradition. It begins with gratitude for the sun, for life, moves on to ask for gifts of humility and grace, for protection from evil and temptation, for answered prayer, for ways to be useful in the world, for the comfort of charity and music in a world of woe, for the capacity to learn and practice Christ-like obedience, and to show gratitude for parental love. Not a bad way to begin and make sacred each day. Daniel Pinkham's interpretation of Christopher Smart's At Dressing in the Morning.
Thank you so much, Stephen, choir, and orchestra, for such an inspiring morning. We now receive our closing words. The blessing of truth be upon us. The power of love direct us to sustain us. The peace of this community preserve us. And may this morning's music reverberate deep within us until we meet again. Amen.
How about that choir?